you're an editor, and this'll be my first shot.
Okay.
United States of America. And those crayons are the color of people's skin.
I left the house that day with one goal: to swap out some letter beads on a bracelet I had constructed a few weeks ago that reads, "Stand up straight." It's to help me fix my atrocious posture. The owner of Bead Boutique was kind enough to offer to change them out for free if I came back, but I kept getting there too late. I took a few puffs off a Fonzie strain joint I received at its release party that I DJ'd last Sunday. It was 90 degrees at 4 p.m. when I hopped on my blue Schwinn. I wasn't nearly hydrated enough to be pedaling this fast or hard, but I wanted to get that bracelet fixed. I was much higher than I anticipated. I rode past a man selling an array of goods on the sidewalk on Willoughby Ave. I wanted to stop, but I had the task on my mind. It was about 10 minutes later, I felt a combination of extreme cottonmouth, heat exhaustion, and dehydration. The cottonmouth, coupled with the high THC content of the Fonzie penetrating my cerebral cortex, brought on an intense feeling of panic. Does weed penetrate the cerebral cortex? I felt as though I was going to pass out. How embarrassing that would be. I managed to get a frosty water from Prime just in the nick of time. I felt the panic wane. There is never any question indeed that you need this shirt. If you're a fan of Alexander O'Neal's and Cheryl's song Saturday Love, this is the shirt for you. Only available at as-is.life. After narrowly evading passing out from heat exhaustion and staving off a public panic attack, I realized I was once again going to be too late to swap out the beads on my bracelet, my whole reason for leaving the house. I took it as a sign to head back, and perhaps the man and his wares I had passed earlier would still be there and give purpose to a day which felt like it had none. I slowly pedaled back up towards Melrose Avenue. I began to question both my current lifestyle and choices. Perhaps this is why, nearing 40 years old, I am alone with no romantic prospects. Still feeling the effects of the Fonzie, the heat, and limited hydration, I realized I needed to stop somewhere to collect my thoughts and hydrate. Slowly riding through the alleyways behind Melrose, I cut down Sierra Bonita, where I remembered there was a small yet welcoming watering hole called the Snake Pit. I walked in and found a seat at the bar. A few glasses of water and one cold beer, and I'd be on my way to see if the man was still on Willoughby. I sincerely hoped he would. Only moments after ordering, a very aggressive yet charming 50-something gay man with a slight southern accent approached me and told me I was cute. I could tell he had been drinking. He looked down at my bracelet and only the word "straight" was visible. He asked if that was to keep from being hit on by gay men. The thought had never even occurred to me, but in that moment, I felt like a story was being written before my eyes.
I am here 'cause you are there. Purchase this once-in-a-lifetime ultra-limited collectible. I am here 'cause you are there. A collection of original poems written live during the late nights and early mornings on Twitch. Each inspired by viewers and completed in minutes. Every book printed, assembled, signed, and numbered by the author. Includes a handwritten yellow legal pad note. 50 copies exist for all time. Only 22 remain.
Purchase yours now. I began to write down the day's events as they had transpired, believing there was a compelling story unfolding. As I read it now, I'm not entirely sure. I felt a light tugging on the back of my boxers, which must have been visible. I turned my head and the man was smiling with a guilty look. He told me I was presenting. I'm still not sure what this means. His friend pulled him away and apologized on his behalf. I was mildly uncomfortable, but mostly amused. A short while later, he sat down next to me and apologized for his earlier behavior. I accepted. He told me they had just come from a funeral. We talked about life, love, and getting older. He said he didn't believe in love anymore and only seeks carnal pleasure. He told a story of hedonism, but it read as loneliness. He inquired about my love life. I told him I didn't have one to speak of. Then he asked if I was on dating apps. I said yes. He insisted I show him my profile. I was reluctant because I feared he would have sharp critiques, but I obliged. As I suspected, he was repulsed by most of the pictures I had chosen. He told me to let him take my picture and assured me I would be getting laid that night. I told him that might be a bit ambitious, but agreed that we each take each other's photo. He directed where he wanted me to look, then called over reinforcements. His friend, he assured me, was an even better photographer. I was having a 2-person photo shoot less than an hour after almost having a heat-induced blackout, but the results were undeniable. He took 3 fantastic pictures. I just took one of him. I did not in fact get laid that night. Many people have been quietly asking, who is as is? What is as is? And why is as is the way he is? The answer to all these questions is yes and no, and nobody knows. I hopped back on my Schwinn, heading in the direction of the sidewalk store on Willoughby Avenue. Although I didn't achieve my initial task, and even though he was the wrong sex entirely, it's nice to be reminded that you are desirable. I hadn't seen myself smile that big in a while, and I had a nice picture and a story to go along with it. As I headed up Vista Avenue, I encountered a slender older man dressed in all black in the middle of the street yelling something about a wallet. He was nearly hysterical. I couldn't help but see a parallel, albeit on a much smaller scale, to the feeling I had earlier. He said he dropped his wallet, cigarettes, and something in the cigarette box, which I assumed was what he needed the most in that moment. He was frantic, never stopped walking or ranting about how nobody cares about anything. I offered to ride up and down the street to see if I could locate it. I really wanted to find it. I went up and down both sides of the streets 5 blocks for about 10 minutes. I kept passing a guy on the porch who was on his phone. I didn't find the wallet or cigarettes. I tried to find the man to let him know, but he disappeared on Melrose. I headed back up Vista. As I passed the man on the porch again, he told me I was a very kind person for trying to help. I didn't think it was a big deal, but to hear it from a stranger made me feel very good. As I approached the corner where the sidewalk store was located, I couldn't help but picturing him having just finished packing his stuff into his truck, narrowly missing a chance to peruse his fanciful sidewalk menagerie. But my fears were unfounded.
Everything is better with butter. Lamont Body Butter. Your skin has never felt more soft, smooth, silky, and divine. It's right on time. Everything is better with butter. It'll have you feeling so good. You'll want to rub all over yourself, but you probably won't need to do that because someone will do it for you. Everything is better with butter. Made from all natural ingredients, the finest in the world. Everything is better with butter.
And there it was, like an antique thrift shop desert oasis. The Fonzie and the faint memories of the day both firmly lodged in my cerebral cortex. I still don't know if that's an actual thing. As I briefly surveyed the magnitude of this beautiful oddity, seated across the street in a folding beach chair was its purveyor, curator, merchandiser, cashier, and owner, a tall, thin man with a large brimmed sun hat, rivaled in size only by his smile. His name was Gabe. That's my brother's name, I told him. I asked if it was okay to record his wares. He not only said yes, but even offered the best starting point for the shot. I wanted to record it as I saw it up close for the first time, and I knew only a single take would be necessary. Gabe and I talked for about an hour, first about this store, then about another store which he had owned on Melrose in the 80s. As interesting and unique as the trinkets in Gabe's sidewalk store were, it was clear to me they were merely a reflection of the man himself. With the story and personality so fascinating, a Hollywood studio should option his whole life. That's showbiz talk for those wondering. I bought a drawing figure and he gave me a beautiful striped gift bag. Before we parted ways, he pulled out a thin silver case and handed me his business card. I left the house that day to swap out some beads on a bracelet. I came back with this story. On Gabe's card it read this: "What we see depends mainly on what we look for."